Good evening, Dr. Freeman. My name is Javier Valero. I'm pretty sure you already know that, but figured I should introduce myself. So we just finished an event for the University of Idaho. It is currently 8:30 p.m. and I figured this would be the perfect time to record this video and talk about my vocation and how I see it evolving over the next course of the next 50 years. So our group project, we did a couple of interviews and we're each doing our own separate self-interview to discuss the book that we read and talk about our vocations. So for my book, I actually did half of What's the Future and It's Up to Us by Tim O'Reilly. And I did half of it because I'm splitting the other half with Rose. So it'll be kind of like a two-part self-interview. The reason I wanted to do this book is kind of on the influences of technology with corporations such as Amazon, Microsoft, and all of these different big tech companies coming in and really displaying, do we have something to fear from the technology and the advancements that are being made in the future? Or are our jobs, our vocations going to be safe and still be around for, is there going to be something for us to do in the future? Um, so before I get into that, I kind of want to go briefly over what it is that I do and how exactly this all ties in with the materials we've read and what the future holds. So right now, as you can see, I changed my background to kind of a little bit more of a common theme that I use for my interactions and engagements with students. Here on my left-hand side, probably your right-hand side, you'll see the Vandal logo and a little animated Joe head. On my right hand, I think I said left, right hand over here, but on my right hand, your left-hand side, you'll see a QR code with different types of meetings, different types of resources for students to use. Now, with the pandemic, COVID-19 really ravaging kind of everything that we know as normal, our jobs have really had to adapt and improvise in how it is that we're going to communicate and engage with students. So, traditionally, we would go out in person, visit different high schools, visit different events, participate, and engage with students in person. But now that is no longer the case. We can't show up to these students. We can't go engage with them in a physical sense. So we've had to adapt to the virtual and digital side of things. At first, it was a little overwhelming and a little, not gonna lie, a little disengaging to see that we needed to reach out to students via computer, whether it's through a Zoom formatting like this, through email, through text, through some sort of virtual digital sense. But now it's also an understanding of like, hey, you know what? Traditionally, a job was done like this, but this has opened up different avenues for us to see how it is that we can engage, grow, and create relationships with our students. Now, I know within What's the Future and Why It's Up to Us that they've talked about a couple of different aspects of how it is that technology is impacting the current world and really what it is that we can expect here in the future. One such idea that really kind of wanted to bring out, because I think it relates perfectly well to my vocation and how technology is influencing it positively, is replacing materials with information. One of the key points that at least stood out to me was in the first two parts of this book. Within the novel, Tim O'Reilly essentially brings out and states how it is that material objects, material possessions can be replaced with information and data. Now, one of the simplest examples I can provide right now is this QR code. Before, when I would visit high schools, I would take physical materials such as pamphlets, postcards, different resources about financial aid, scholarship, loans, and really anything you can think of physically to kind of engage and draw in students about like, hey, visit my table, let's talk about the University of Idaho and what it is that we can provide you. Given that we are in COVID-19 eras right now, we've had to adapt and turn a lot of our physical resources into a virtual digital format, essentially digital information for any student to be able to access. The really nice thing about this is that we're able to hit a wider audience. Instead of only having a limited number of students come in to talk to us during either like a lunch visit, a high school visit, or some sort of event, they can now simply grab their handy dandy phones, turn on the camera, scan the QR code, and then boom, it automatically gives them essentially a wealth of information, a vast resource capacity to be able to view things like my personal meeting schedule, what events I'll be virtually holding, what office hours I have, if they want to set up a one-on-one meeting with me. This is all easily done by just simply going through this QR code, where before they might just have to talk to me in person about setting up a meeting or giving me a phone call, sending me an email. Now it's all literally in the palm of their hand by just simply scanning one little code. And it's actually quite wild to think that, man, why did we not implement this before? And why did it take a global pandemic to make us think of these resources to push them out to our students so that they have had more access to us? Another really great aspect that I enjoyed in the first half of the book is something that he explained called the magical user experience. So kind of being able to bring the resources to the individual, much like we did with this QR code. One of the key components that we did for the University of Idaho was providing that in-person experience for students to be able to engage with the university, staff, faculty, physically on our campus. For some time, we weren't able to do that. We didn't want to risk, we didn't want to risk bringing in students, families, or anybody to our campus to potentially harm or bring the COVID-19 in greater numbers to the university. But also, we wanted to ensure that if there was some form of COVID, whether it was an outbreak or a couple of cases here in the University of Idaho main campus, that those families that were coming in weren't getting essentially introduced or exposed to the virus. One of the really great things that we brought up in that scenario is